Dr. Fagwimi, thanks for joining us today on the morning show.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me, Ayo.
Well, Dr. Fagwimi, good morning. Good to see you again. We see you very regularly these days.
Good morning.
And I think that's good. Now, your take on this fake agency scandal and what some people interpret as Bajagate. And then, of course, what would you recommend as the next steps forward, beyond the fact that, the accused supposedly fake director general of a presidential agency, which they say is fictitious, is supposed to have a day in court on July 27. How, in the first place, would this kind of scandal occur? Who dropped the ball? What is the remedy beyond going to court and all of that? Where is accountability? Where is transparency? All of that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruben Abati. Good morning, Nigerians. On a serious note, I intend to address the subject matter from two major perspectives: the national security perspective and the statecraft perspective. And I'll be taking my departure from Chapter 6 of the 1999 Constitution, particularly Part 1 of Chapter 6, which describes the office of the president, around which the presidency, the institution that is now within the ambits of the searchlights of this controversy. You'll recall that Chapter 6, Part 1 says there shall be an incumbent president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he will have appendices of office and paraphernalia with which to run and administer the Nigerian state. When you take a look at the ongoing conversations in public domain, we are left with no choice other than to refer back to that same question that Babachiro Lawal asked: who and what is the presidency of the Nigerian state? When we understand that the presidency of the Nigerian state is vested wholly and solely in the president commander-in-chief that is in situ, the incumbent president, in this case, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, all the issues will be understood. And as such, my patriotic and responsible duty this morning is to call on the Chief Security Officer, Rashid Atonda Lawal, the Chief Security Officer to the President Commander-in-Chief. I'll call on the ADC Colonel Nuruddin Alowole Yusuf, the Commissioner of Police Usman Musa Shugaba, who is the Chief Police Security Officer to the President Commander-in-Chief, and the Commander Brigade of Guards, Brigadier General Adebisi Onosanya. Kindly protect the incumbent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, very well. We are in dangerous times. You need to prepare for the security and safety of the incumbent President Commander-in-Chief, please. This is mindful of the fact that what we are dealing with talks about the fact that somebody that has been declared fake is occupying a federal secretariat space. And as such, my plea to the four of you this morning will be to conduct an urgent audit of all offices and residential accommodation within the State House complex and ensure that you do the census of all the individuals occupying the offices and the accommodation. You will need to suspend and review all access clearances to the incumbent President Commander-in-Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu and to the State House. You need to guard the President Commander-in-Chief very well. You must restrict access to only authorized persons, and you may need to introduce fresh access control measures and do the revetting of all hitherto cleared persons. Number two, I now invite President Commander-in-Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, pursuant to the provisions of the Tribunals of Inquiry Act, Cap T21, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 as per Section 1 of the Tribunals Inquiry Act, that he should proceed within the next 48 hours to institute a tribunal of inquiry and preferably a judicial panel of inquiry considering the magnitude of what we are dealing with. I am aware that Nigerians have trust deficit issues with the incumbent administration, but these are the statutory and constitutional things that must be done within the legal provisos of Chapter 6, Part 1 of the 1999 Constitution. In furtherance of the provisions of the public service rules, I invite the following officers under the auspices of the directives from the incumbent President Commander-in-Chief to be asked to proceed on administrative leave. They are the Chief of Staff to the President Commander-in-Chief, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Accountant General of the Federation, Head, Civil Service of the Federation, the Governor, Central Bank, and the Director of Banking Operations of the CBN, the DG Budget Office. These officers may need to understand that the data already in public domain demands that they must answer their portfolios correctly, and they would need to appear before the panel of inquiry. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fagbemi. Very well said. Well, I'd like your reaction to the statement released by the presidency, signed by Mr. Bayo Ononuga, where, I mean, effectively, they spoke up for the chief of staff and just putting the blame on the fact that a fraudster found a way to, deceive the entire presidency, including the CBN, bypassed all these processes to have an office and even have a budget line item. And then I'd like you to also speak to the role of the legislative, because they also, at least there's a committee on budget, and they went through the line items of the budget and they didn't flag this fictitious agency. Well, I would like you to speak about strengthening that institution of oversight, because a number of times Nigerians have called them into, to question an accountability as to the effect or how well they are doing that job of oversight. So two things. The presidency has come out to almost, speak in defense of the chief of staff, saying that he, in fact, was a whistleblower and the man in question is fraudulent. And then the senators, their work and oversight duties.
Thank you very much, Hayo. Unfortunately, I was hoping I would not have need to speak about the certain Bayo Ononuga of infamy in terms of the statements he uses to distract the Nigerian people and the Nigerian state. Bayo Ononuga has the infamy of strategic distraction, strategic desensitization, and particularly furthering the totalitarian tiptoeing autocratic system that is currently in place. It is unfortunate that Bayo Ononuga has allowed himself to issue the statements. Bayo Ononuga, to all intent and purposes, speaks only for one person and one person alone, and that is the President Commander-in-Chief, in this case, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It is therefore unfortunate that he has used his office and paraphernalia to issue a statement on behalf and in defense of the incumbent Chief of Staff, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, GCON. I plead with him to stop and to give the direction to officers under his watch, including a certain Temitope Ajayi, to stop forthwith. When you take a look at the National Assembly and you want to discuss the oversight function, you will now understand that one officer in the Senate that has a lot of questions to answer is the chairman in charge of Appropriations Committee. His colleague in the House of Reps will have some questions to answer as well. And this is why we are recommending that primarily we need to put in place the judicial panel of inquiry. This will allow us to have a multi-stakeholder platform that will address the issues at stake and take a look at where the National Assembly actually failed. It is unfortunate that the incumbent chairman of the National Assembly, the incumbent Senate President Godswill Akpabio, has led this current National Assembly in a ride that is not healthy for democracy in terms of the separation of powers. Because when you take a look at what we are now dealing with, there is what is called dereliction of duty, negligence, lack of due diligence, inefficiency, and all these are things that within the ambit of public service rules and conduct of public officials, they are being found wanting.
Good to see you, sir. And I'm very happy you have laid out all you have laid out. But you know, we comment a lot in the public space, but our leaders don't listen. And I'm sorry to say that your very good advice will be thrown into the dustbin of history this morning because these guys don't care. I'm sorry to tell you the hard truth. I'm an idealist too, like you, sir. But nothing will happen. We go scot-free with it. Independent panel of inquiry for who? Who's going to lead that panel? In the same country where a senator came out on TV to say that her signature on a document that suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti, she didn't append her signature to that document. Till today, no forensic investigation has happened. In the same country where all sorts of things are happening, matters being swept under the carpet. The questions we should even ask, are you even sure that the so-called Tanimola that they say he's dead is dead? Somebody died, a hotel caught fire, or somebody died in a hotel or something, or there was a fire in Abuja, and it was never reported. So, sir, you and I know that it was this country we have Gloria Okun and Delegiwa. Nothing will happen. That's the sad reality. And that's where I'm putting back to you in the challenge. And you were attacking Bayo Ononuga and Temitope Ajayi. Do you think they could have done what they have done or written their statements without the inputs of other people? You think they did it on their own? So I don't know if you want to challenge my premise, but it's Nigeria we did. Nigeria happened.
Yeah. Rufai, I want to maintain a patriotic responsibility, and that is why I had to put it ab initio for Nigerians to understand that the person of interest that we need to protect and be mindful of his security and safety in all this matter is the incumbent president commander-in-chief. Ordinarily, I would not have loved to mention the names of the ADC, the CSO, the CPSO, and the Commander Brigade of Guards the way I did. But it is becoming clear that we are living in very dangerous times, and what we have on ground indicates clearly that we can no longer toy with the subject matter. It is not about the fact that some monies have been moved or not. It is not about that there is an impostor. It is about the fact that somebody can infiltrate. And mind you, we are discussing this subject matter at a time when, before the competent law courts of the country, courts of competent jurisdiction, there are cases of coup plots that are ongoing. And we are very familiar with the fact that a book was published about the Buhari era that talked about the fact that there was a time that General Buhari, the then incumbent president Muhammadu Buhari, was nearly poisoned. I foresee that this is becoming a real messy matter. And I am inviting the DGSSS to ensure that it provides the oversight and the additional security for the incumbent president commander-in-chief. I'm inviting the DGNIA. I'm inviting all security and law enforcement officers. Nothing must happen to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because this is not an ordinary matter. And all the officers that I've mentioned that must proceed on administrative leave must now understand that this is not about saving one of them. They need to remember the fact that when we go to a stage in the Bible, in John 11, verse 50, it was said that it is better for one man to be crucified than for the entire country. If they do not address this subject matter using the paraphernalias and the perquisites of office as provided for by the legal and policy frameworks to ensure that we unearth this, all of them must go. Secretary to Government of the Federation, may I therefore plead with you that within the next 12 hours, you must commission the audit of all the agencies and offices that are occupying the premises of the Federal Secretariat and do the census. And the head of the Department of State Security Service at the Federal
Dr.
Secretariat,
Fagbemi,
you must do your due diligence. I thank you.
Okay, Dr. Fagwimi, thank you very much. But a few minutes earlier, you had said that even the Secretary to the Government of Federation must proceed on administrative leave. Maybe whoever takes over from him will have to carry out that assignment that you have given. And there are many Nigerians who are on your side in terms of all the demands that you have made.